Welcome in, everybody. This is the Falcons Podcast, and welcome back. We haven't been here since Wednesday, so it's been a week. Lots changed in a week, and you know what? We got football in about 4 days, so we are good to go. This is the Falcons Podcast. My name is Scott Kennedy. This guy over here is Nick Kendall. Welcome back, Nick. It's good to see you. How are you doing?
Good. Missed you on Monday, but that's glad to hear you are enjoying yourself. And happy anniversary to you and your wife as well. You guys in the chat, if you're joining us, make sure you wish Scott. I don't want to say the years. I don't want to age you or anything.
No, it's okay. It's the silver. It's 25. This is like a big one. It's the 25th anniversary. So we did a little trip. Went down to Jamaica. Yeah, man. So spent a couple days down there and really chill diving. It's not really a dive destination. If you want to go on a dive trip, I wouldn't recommend Jamaica. If you want to go chill someplace and have the most friendly people in the world, I'd recommend Jamaica. So good, relaxing place. Not necessarily a dive destination, but definitely a relaxed, gorgeous water, great people place to go. So had a good time down there. But it is time to get down to business, Nick. First off, we do go live every Monday and Wednesday, usually. But this time, I said last week, before we left on Wednesday, that we'd probably do a show on Friday. At least I would do a makeup show on Friday. Probably still going to do that. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get your alerts when we come on, when we do things kind of off schedule a little bit. But we want to say hello to some folks. That's why we go live. We like having the conversation. A mad scientist who thought he wasn't ever going to have children because it took him so long to have his first is having another. So congratulations, mad scientist. We're happy for you. And I know the chat is as well. Curtis Case, good to see you. CKC says, morning, Nick and Scott and Falcons Nation. That's all, y'all. Dantes is always in here bright and early for us. Som, good to see you over there. Justin Bird, good to see you as well. Sam, great to see you. We made it. It's here. It's game week. Buccaneers. Now, what to expect? You know, it's always exciting. You know, I was really excited for the preseason, and by week 3 of the preseason, I wasn't even watching. Yeah. Like, okay, I've had enough of preseason. They're playing guys who are hopefully trying to just make the roster and not guys we're going to see. So, and this week we haven't seen much of the offense except in training camp, and then it's looked really good in training camp, including against the Tennessee Titans in their joint practices. But that's what we haven't seen. I don't think we'll see a replay of week 1 last year where it was just weird. We didn't see a replay of week 1 last year for the rest of the season. It's like that offense and the play calling got completely mixed up starting with week 2. But what do you think we can expect? How sharp do you think it can be, knowing that Tampa, kind of like Atlanta, not the strongest defensive team in the world, Nick?
I'm expecting a heavy dose of Bijan Robinson. I think they're going to try to lean on him, especially with the right tackle mix-up that's going on with McGarry out for the season, protect Penix as much as they can. They'll be aggressive, but a heavy dose of Bijan Robinson and, of course, Drake London as well. And, yeah, I'm excited to see what Michael Penix looks like entering year 2, first full year as a starter without a weirdness that was last season with Cousins to Penix. He's the man. So excited to see. Hopefully Atlanta's also, I'm excited. We talk about the offense, but really, it comes down to Penix at the end of the day, but the defense as well. Tampa Bay's been such a good offensive team here. Baker Mayfield's been pretty awesome for them. They've had an awesome offensive line. They just talk about right tackles. They just re-upped Luke Gadecki yesterday as well, who's been one of the better right tackles in football. So yeah, what does the Falcons defense look like? But offensively, I think I know what I'm expecting. Bijan and Drake London get 70% of the touches.
Yeah, that works for me. That's not a bad way to go. And we talked about it, not everybody can have a breakout season. Not everybody can have a career year. So Nick, and just to repeat on this is, we're going to have a bunch of new viewers as we get closer to the season here like this. If I'm looking right now, who do I think regresses a little bit? I expect Kyle Pitts to have a better year than he did last year. I think Drake London's going to have a better year than he did last year. I think Bijan Robinson's going to have even more than he did last year. And again, that ticker might as well say, as long as everyone stays healthy. Mm-hmm. So who's going to come down a little bit? Right now, for me, it's Darnell Mooney. We haven't seen him in 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. And then, possibly Ray McLeod, because Kyle Pitts is not in competition at tight end with Charlie Warner. He's in competition with the third wide receiver for a slot X. So if Darnell's out there, then he's in competition for number 2 wide receiver with Ray McLeod, and all 3 of those guys will get on the field. So right now, Darnell, I think, is probably a little bit behind and not necessarily thinking, oh, yeah, well, he's a lock for 1,000 yards this year. I don't know. I'm not on that bandwagon just yet until we see him out there and healthy, and he just started practicing last week, Nick.
Yeah, good call out on Kyle Pitts as well. He's one. I mean, we've said it on this show. If you're watching for the first time, Lucy with the football every year with Kyle Pitts. It's like, oh, this is finally the year. Whoop, there it goes. So I'm leaning into what I know right now, and that is Bijan Robinson and, of course, Kyle Pitts as well. Bijan getting some early preseason hype as well. I sent it to you the other day, Scott, but Pro Football
Was
Focus.
he number 2? I think he was number 2 on that list.
He was number 2. Yep. And they had, he was number 2 in the rankings, but they had 2 of the 4 people who they asked, their analysts, Dalton Wasserman and Beckett Mesko. Both of them said Bijan would win.
What are we talking about? We're talking about Offensive Player of the Year in the NFL. I think Saquon won that last year, and then did Lamar win MVP last year?
Josh Allen did. Okay, Lamar had a monster season. It's like, but he already won MVP twice, and Allen had never won it. So that's
and frankly, that happened to Lamar Jackson in college too. He put up pinball numbers as his first year as a starter, and they're like, okay, we've seen all that. We don't need to do that again. And it really was legit. It wasn't just like a system thing. He really is like that. And that happened to Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan could have gotten MVP every single year, and they get fatigued. It's like, let's try and give it to somebody else. So I think, when I say Lamar Jackson, he kind of is just a default MVP. But yes, Bijan Robinson is looked at as, right now, PFF has him, and they may have quoted DraftKings actually as a betting favorite, like the number 2 odds on for Offensive Player of the Year this year. It's not a bad shout. Not a bad way to use a number 8 overall pick, is it? If you can get an Offensive Player of the Year.
No, not at all. But you do have to take advantage of the window all the same, because he is a running back, and we are entering year 3, no playoffs yet. Not the return you want. Not his fault necessarily, but the infrastructure around matters, and taking advantage of that window, because it's not an offensive tackle. It's not a quarterback where, you're talking about year 6, 7.
15 years.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you got 4 to 6 years, really, most of the time. So,
but you would trade a number 1 pick for 1 season of an offensive MVP.
Yeah,
you would. Yeah, you would. So again, is the pick good? Yes, it was a good pick. It was a good pick. Well used at number 8. Want to say hello to some more folks in here. Larry, good to see you. Jerry as well. Xavier, X-Man, good to see you. And Austin Freeze. Good to see you. He says, the depth chart was a little confusing to me. Only 2 DLs, wasn't camp mostly 3 or 4. Well, good to look at, but you are missing a little something. Yes, and yes. But it's been 2 the whole summer. So as far as the depth chart has listed a 2-4-5 nickel the entire time. Is it a 3-4? Is it a 4-3? No, it's been the 2-4-5. Only 2 DL, 2 stand-up edge rushers, 2 inside linebackers, and 5 defensive backs. That's not how they've been lining up. So they've been lining up on first downs, 2nd and 5s, etc. They've been lining up with mostly a 3-man front. Sometimes Ryan Nielsen's three linemen with a stand-up edge, so a 3-3 almost, a 3-3-5. And here we go with the Friends episode again. 7, and then they would also go down into a standard 3-4, which is the 2 edge rushers we would see on 3rd and medium, 2nd and medium, with the 2 edges coming in that way. So it's not standard. And a couple of things that we saw Xavier Watts. Raheem said he's going to be the number 1 safety. He's listed number 1. Billy Bowman, he mentioned the phrase, Nick, significant lead at that spot, which is kind of what the eye test was telling us also. It's nice when, you go to camp and you see this and like, dude, that dude's way ahead. And frankly, he was the first rookie running on field 1 on day 1 of camp. So he's kind of been in that spot. Xavier's bounced back and forth. The edge guys have Pierce and Walker have bounced back and forth and then have elevated to the first field, which is 1s and 2s. But Billy Bowman's been there the whole time. And he brings something a little different this year. He brings, a box safety mentality to the slot which is going to help in the run game, Nick.
Yeah, it should. And really, I mean, looking over the depth chart, the only part, the chat's already on it. The only part that is surprising compared to preseason expectations is Brandon Dorlus getting the nod as the starter over Rook Orohiro.
Again, we'll see.
Yeah, but we'll also, it's the caveat with that is you're right how it's listed, 2-4-5 with the starters there on the depth chart. And also the defensive line is the singularly heaviest, most rotated position in football. It could be a 40-40 split between those guys when you heavily rotate them. So again, it is a little bit surprising to see Dorlus listed before, just because I expected Rook to take a step this season. You had early second round pick, took him over Fisk, right? And all the tools kind of raw, but to see Dorlus there, it's good for him as well. And we'll see how they end up rotating them and the personnel they end up using at the end of the day. But still, I think it does say something to have Dorlus listed over Rook.
And what this will show to me, and Larry, says surprised to see Dorlus over Rook is kind of surprising to me. Maybe, okay, they're not going to come out in a 2-4-5. They're going to come out in a 3-man front. So we will find out who are your first three when we see either is it going to be Dorlus, because all camp it's been Zach Harrison, which is why we warned you, hey, Morgan Fox is in trouble when he's coming out late. We said that from the first week of camp, first preseason game. Morgan Fox is no guarantee to make this team, and he got cut. Having Zach Onyemata in the middle and then Rook on the right side. That was how it was standard. And then Dorlus, we have said, played great. He's really showing a quick first step. So when they come out in their 3-man front, is it Rook, Onyemata? The only for sure thing that I have in there is Onyemata. Onyemata is going to be out there. So is it then Rook, Onyemata, and Dorlus? Or is it Dorlus on the right side ahead? Is he really ahead of Rook? Because Rook's been out there first all camp. And Zach Harrison, who I think might be. My gut tells me if Dorlus is ahead of anybody, it might be Harrison. And it'll be Dorlus, who brings a little bit more presence, a little bit more him being used to playing inside. To me, this is a run defense fit. It might be on first downs, Dorlus, Onyemata, Rook in their 3-man front is how I might see it. So, and again, at the end of the day, it's going to be about snap counts, and there's going to be a heavy, heavy, heavy rotation here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, again, heaviest rotated position in all of football. There's going to be ample snaps to be around. I did see Keith Brugman in the chat, and I think it's Keith's birthday today as well. So happy birthday, Keith, to get us off track, but right back on. Happy birthday, 123 Cancun. At first I thought that was a, shot at maybe at the Falcons, or I don't know, like the season's already over. We're looking.
I know that's how we talk about it when they're tanking.
Yeah.
When teams are tanking, that's their offensive snap count. All right, ready on 3. 1, 2, 3. Cancun.
Yep. Break the huddle. But happy birthday, Keith. Hope you're doing well. Appreciate you joining us this morning on the day of your birth. So appreciate you. But yeah, Scott, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what Penix looks like, and want to see this defense take steps forward. This is a tough first test, though. One thing you do have going for you, and a big ace, I guess, or a big advantage for the young pass rushers, seeing Jalen Walker, James Pierce Jr., no Tristan Wirfs, who, in my opinion, is the best offensive tackle in football. Yes, I'm biased. Go Hawks. But not having him out there, that completely changes the dynamic of what the offensive line can do. You see their screen game and how they utilize that. It's always Tristan Wirfs, 330 pounds out in space, running like a 220-pounder. So not having Tristan Wirfs out there should be a huge boon for those young pass rushers. And Baker Mayfield, he's tough, but he runs kind of like he's in quicksand sometimes. Like I appreciate he can get out there and move sometimes, but he's not really a scrambler. So having that left tackle out there, maybe we can see these young pass rushers really get their career started. And I'm expecting, I'm going to call out at least 1 sack for James Pierce Jr. in this one.
Love to see it. You get 1 a game, and one a game will make him rookie of the year.
Oh, easily.
17 sacks. You're going to be defensive player of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Which, who was it in his bold prediction? Was it Louis Riddick? came out and said my bold prediction is that James Pierce Jr. leads the NFL in sacks. Shoot, I'd just take 10. You give me 10, I'll take it right now from James Pierce Jr. Again, the Falcons haven't had anybody with 7 or more since like 2018. So on that one, I want to say hello to some more folks that have come in. Brandon says, good to see you, Brandon. He says, make Baker beat you from the pocket. And they're not totally healthy at the wide receiver position. And Mike Evans has shown some signs of slowing down. He's not quite the Mike Evans of 5 years ago. I don't think Godwin's even going to play. He's still coming back from his injury. Get to know the rookie. They did sign it. They did draft a number 1. They're making contingency plans for their older wide receivers, and he's good too, Nick. The rookie wide receiver is good.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of hype early on. Emeka Egbuka, number 19 overall draft pick in this last class from Ohio State, had been playing second fiddle to Marvin Harrison Jr. as well as Donovan Smith, I think is their super duper freshman that they had there this year. First ever number 1 overall recruit at wide receiver.
They have Jeremy Smith.
Jeremiah.
Okay, yeah, they have them. I haven't watched Ohio State yet. I didn't watch them against Texas, so I was glad to see. I'll root for any team. I'll root against any team that Steve Sarkisian is coaching. It has nothing to do with the Longhorns. It has everything to do with their coach.
Yeah.
So go
we
Bucs.
know how that goes. Yeah. So Ohio State up to number 1 now. Penn State number 2. Go Big Ten. But that's just me. No, yeah, it's going to be Egbuka is a real player, and he's a pretty advanced route runner for a rookie as well. So this secondary is going to get tested. He's a good player. I don't know if he's ever going to be a superstar player, but he's damn good. So we'll see. And the one thing also you have going for you with the Falcons defense, second year, it's first year for their new offensive coordinator there as well. They've had 3 offensive coordinators in 3 years. They do have a lot of personnel holdover, which will help, but still new scheme again. I don't know if it's every single year is head coach caliber offensive coordinator, because you had Canales, you had oh my gosh, his name's escaping me. The guy who went to Jacksonville, Duval, the corny press conference. But year 3 now. I think they picked from that Rams tree as well. And we got Jordan Brown coming in saying, who's more of an enforcer, Watts or Helms? I would say Helms is the harder hitter, but what Watts brings is ball skills.
Yeah.
So that's where it's at.
Watts is there for coverage, make no doubt about it. And, what do they do on 3rd and long with Billy Bowman? Is he still on the field? Again, he blitzes a lot. They're going to blitz a lot out of that slot position with Bowman. So if he's out there, doesn't necessarily mean he's in coverage. And, D. Alford made this team, is D your coverage guy? I don't know. We know what we know from last year, but again, I'm not taking everything I saw last year and just moving it forward. D was terrible last year. Yeah, most of them were terrible last year. That has a lot to do with the position they were put in. But as far as coverage goes, Watts is out there number 1 because he's better in coverage. He's better at taking away the passing game. Helms will get his time. He will get plenty of snaps too. I have no doubt about it. And then Jordan Fuller was brought back, and I should have made a bigger deal out of this. Some of the surprises for the guys that were cut was that there were going to be, we did make a big deal of it being an initial 53. It was an initial 53. But who are some of the guys that after they make their injury roster moves could be back? And Jordan Fuller was one of those guys. You look at this like, wait a minute, it doesn't make any sense that they're only going to keep 3 safeties. Well, Billy Bowman played safety. Not in Atlanta, he hasn't. He hasn't taken a snap at safety. They want him at nickel. They want him to be good at nickel. They're not going to just, if there's an injury, they're not counting on him to play safety. Obviously, then, the next day they make their moves and Jordan Fuller's back. Okay. That's what we expected. And I apologize I wasn't on top of that because we should have been. We should have been on top of that. Should have seen that move coming.
Yeah. I mean, you never know, especially with those veterans. Sometimes they get spurned and they move away. We do have some news, Scott, on the Falcons front as well. Nothing too crazy, but the Falcons have created $6 million by restructuring the contract of wide receiver Darnell Mooney. So a little bit of news coming out from Field Yates today, a little bit of cap flexibility, moving some money back on the contract. I'm sure that's how it's moved around, but that just came out.
Yeah, he was on a 3-year deal. He was in year 2 of a 3-year deal, and he was pretty much a bargain. And, as we explain contracts to y'all, because everybody sees, Kirk Cousins, 4-year, $180 million. No, it's the guaranteed money. It's about how much is guaranteed. And if you're guaranteed $100 million on a 4-year, $180 million contract, it's really a 2-year deal. And Mooney had a 3-year contract, but the money that was guaranteed was only for 2 years. So that was last year and then this year, which means going into the last year of your guaranteed money, you've got some flexibility for the 3rd year, because players don't want to play on the last year of their deal, which is just created for cap purposes, because it ends up being no guaranteed money and it's a week-to-week deal. So they're happy to re-sign. So we saw it happen with Matthews, assuming they're happy where they are. And Mooney should be. Mooney had a good year. We want to see him be healthy. So another $6 million. What does that mean? That means they'll probably try and carry it over for next year. There's not
$1 million, free to play. You just need to survive. It's the Fanatics NFL Survivor Pool. Pick one team to win each week. Get it right, move on. Get it wrong, you're out. The last fan standing take home a guaranteed $1 million cash prize. And for every player who joins, we add $1 to the pot, up to $10 million. The Fanatics NFL Survivor Pool. Play free on the Fanatics app. App access open to all. Must be 21 plus and joined by 9/8 to play. No purchase necessary. U.S. only. Void where prohibited. Subject to complete terms. See fanatics.com/game rules.
Unless they're making a trade and nobody's trading starting offensive tackles. They're not, I don't expect a big $6 million signing to come in. It just gives you a little bit more flexibility down the road. Trading deadline, those type of moves. So good, cool news. Thank you, Nick.
Yeah, no, good news there. And a investment in Darnell Mooney's 3rd season is what this is. This is what, because you had flexibility and you had the injury stuff coming in last year, obviously was a best season since his rookie year. And you mentioned it. He's on a bargain. Now the injury stuff happening right now, it does, maybe raise a couple hairs when you hear this news, but this is just a commitment to his 3rd season on the team, unless they added void years. I haven't seen the exact details. Sometimes that happens as well with these contracts, but $6 million added to cap space. I'll be curious. Maybe this is a harbinger for a Drake London deal coming down the tracks as well. We'll keep an eye out, but that did happen, and I don't think they were in trouble financially. So you added some flexibility. We'll see.
They were low. Yeah, they were low on cap space, not in trouble like the Saints used to be till they got their lottery ticket from David Carr. I still can't believe that happened.
Yeah.
Oh, here's $50 million back for your salary cap. What in the? You guys have mismanaged your cap for a decade. It finally catches up to you, and your quarterback retires. Holy cow. How lucky could you get? And Big Low says, okay, it looks like we're looking to make a big splash in free agency. And yes, I have no doubt. Again, I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's not the money that has been the problem with Arthur Blank. He's been awesome about spending the money. In fact, the Falcons have like one of the 3 highest salary caps for total commitments in the entire NFL. It's what he spent it on, which is a big change from 40-plus-year-old Falcons fans who had to grow up with the Smiths. And this is why when people say, well, what about a comp pick for this, a comp pick for that? Now, Arthur Blank spends too much money for the Falcons to really be a comp pick player. They're going to play in free agency. They're going to, and they'll get about $30 million back from Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins will still have, I think it's 20 actually, unless a trade is made sometime during the year. They'll get about $25 million back from Kirk Cousins and carry a $30 million dead cap hit instead of 20. But he was scheduled to have a $55 million cap hit next year. Again, it was a 2-year deal with some dead money in year 3. And they can split that across 2 years. Mm-hmm. So they'll save about 30 something million next year, carry over 6 to next year, and then you can actually lower Drake London's cap hit with a big extension also. So it's good news. Good news. I like having, and it was probably a decent deal, Nick, as far as Mooney goes, because he was a bargain at $14 million for a 1,000-yard receiver. That's a bargain these days.
I mean, with what wide receiver 3s are going for in the open market, that's a hell of a deal. honestly, it could be with his injury. I don't think it's the move, but it could be an extension for Mooney as well, coming down the tracks, create that money. But I think my eyes are on Drake London for this one. I think if the money goes anywhere, let's get it done. That'd be great news. Reward him before you even play the season. You're excited.
It's only going to get more expensive.
Yeah. I mean,
he's only going to get more expensive. Troy, we're about 25 minutes into the show right now. And Jay, good to see you, Jay, fellow Pope Greyhound. He says Felipe is back. Talked a little bit about this last week. Felipe earned his spot. He's turned into a tight end. None of the quarterback stuff. He wasn't a good enough quarterback to play in the NFL, and that's okay. And he is now hung around for what? 21, 22, 23, 24, 5 years in the NFL? 5 years in the NFL by being just a big athlete. Good for him. And he worked hard. I would focus on him when he's on the field and is blocking. He works hard at it. And that's what he needed to do to make this team is be, he's a good special teams player and be a hard-working blocker where maybe you can do some things with him. Because, again, he's a backup to Kyle Pitts, not to Charlie Warner. So, but, yeah, I'm happy for Felipe. I don't necessarily want to see him out there. But I am happy for him.
Yeah, no, I mean, good story, hard work, quite a journey, right? As well in his college career, Florida to Arkansas to now NFL. So, thanks, Bucks Raise Bolt. You don't want to forget me, but good to see you. Hopefully, your team is 0-1 when we talk again. But I'll pull for your Rays and Bolts, but no, not Tampa Bay today. I didn't used to have an issue with Tampa Bay, but you guys, they've had it. For considering how open the NFC South has been, they've kind of taken the reins here. So I'm getting starting to get annoyed. Starting to get a little bit annoyed there. It's respect, but I
want to see the NFC South competitive again, and not just like Tampa's won it all year in a row, but in the 2010s, it was arguably the toughest division in the NFL. All four teams going to the. Has anybody else done that in a while? I mean, all four teams going to the Super Bowl.
I don't think so.
I mean, they all did. And I had this discussion when we were doing the Broncos podcast. Oh, they had Drew Brees, and how does he only have one Super Bowl? I'm like, one Super Bowl for the Saints? I mean, that's amazing. Did you see the Saints before Sean Payton? And he was doing it in the toughest division at the time in football. I can't think of anything else like that. The NFC East was like that when I was a kid. With the Redskins, the Eagles made a Super Bowl. The Cowboys were solid. The Giants were really good. But now it's not quite the same. So, I want to see – it's not just that the Buccaneers have been doing it. It's that they've been doing it without being very good. And that's no offense to Tampa. They know that. They haven't been considered among the elite, among the contenders for a Super Bowl since Brady. I mean, the last 5 years or so. So I'm ready to see the South climb again, and that the rising tide on this.
You did have just quick looking, Scott. You did have the NFC NFC West in the early 2000s, where you had the end of the Kurt Warner era Rams, Kurt Warner season Cardinals as well about 6 years later, and then the 2005 Seahawks as well. So that's one where you had a kind of a cluster of teams in the NFC
and the
West.
49ers are usually.
They made it.
Never been down for too long.
Yep. Yeah, they had the.
But I'm ready to see. I'm ready for the South to play. The South is good in football. We know this. Mm-hmm. The South is good in football. Let's rise up a little bit. I'm okay with that. If the Buccaneers win the division again, I want to see them do it at like 13-3, 13-4, and the Falcons go 11-6, and they're a danger. In the playoffs. That's what I want to see again. Not just, oh yeah, you guys get the South spot until you get beat and everybody hopes they play you. No. Done with that.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. And we hadn't talked about it too yet, Scott, but the Parsons trade as well. I don't know if that was something you wanted to touch on. I don't know if you can find the clip, but before the draft, we're talking about trading for Parsons and everything there. And it's like, oh, he's the most valuable non-quarterback in football, without a doubt. I mean, his age, his ability on the field, the position he plays. You can make an argument for Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, but I'm kind of now reaching the point where 33 years old, I'm dabbling in the old head game. So I'm not fully like an offensive tackle number one, highest paid behind the quarterback, but pass rusher for sure. And I think Green Bay got a heck of a deal. Honestly, I mean, they had to pay him, so it's a little different, but only giving up 2 firsts and a 30-plus-year-old defensive tackle is heck of a deal for the Packers.
And then the money thing, and we talked about that a bit before it happened. What would this make sense? What would it cost, and would it make sense? And I discussed that. The 2026, 2027. If you said in April, the Falcons just traded for Micah Parsons for a 2026, a 2027, 2 future picks, and a young player and Brandon Dorlus, you'd be like, okay, that's interesting. It's expensive, but it's going to cost a lot, on that as well. But then once you put names to players, it becomes harder to do because now you've got an emotional attachment to that guy. So if you change out that 2026 with James Pierce Jr. and you say, we're going to send James Pierce Jr., Brandon Dorlus, and a 2027 first to the Cowboys for Micah Parsons. Oh, and by the way, you're also going to have to go $200 million of guaranteed money. And that's too much for me into one player. I don't like doing that with a quarterback half the time, Nick, unless they're a bona fide top 5 guy. 20% of your salary cap into one guy. I'm more conservative than that. As much as we like Micah Parsons, we knew someone would pay it. I want more players out there. I want to hedge my bets against an injury or against a fall off, against anything. That's too much for one player for me that is a non-quarterback. And frankly, it's too much for me a lot of times for a quarterback.
I think I would do it if I was in the Packers circumstances, or if I was like Falcons right now.
I'm one player away. If I think I'm one player away, what the Rams did, a couple of years ago, I'm okay. Yeah, okay. But that's not again, to your point, and go ahead and finish it.
I was just going to say, I don't think the Falcons are there right now. You have enough questions defensively. Does he completely change the identity of your defense? Yes, without a doubt. You're hoping James Pierce can be that guy. But again, we talked about it. Parsons, the most valuable non-quarterback in football. And they showed that with the picks and the contract following it. So I don't think the Falcons are in that position right now. Hopefully you're in that position a year from now where you have these guys, or I guess not, because you want Pierce and Walker to hit. But as far as where the defense is
to be able to, Dexter Lawrence is up, or the equivalent is okay. I'm one player away. Now I can use 2 firsts and a big contract for that guy. I'm one player away, and that's kind of the plan for 2027, possibly. Where do you think you're going to be one player away? Not right now. Not right now. The defense is too young. Well, Scott, you're using defense on Micah Parsons. Yeah, but I still have too many holes out there for me.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to follow, and just somebody we can kind of close the lid on there, because we've been dabbling about Parsons now for a few years, given his value and what he's done for the Cowboys. And man, the NFC North is going to be a tough freaking division, man. I'm really curious to see how that shakes out.
If we're looking at potentials for fall offs, it's probably the Vikings. They're starting a quarterback that hasn't played at all, and he's young, coming off an injury. That would probably be the fall off there.
The Lions lost their entire staff. Also, they had huge.
Yeah, and the Lions lose. How much does coaching matter?
Yeah, exactly. Now, granted, they did have probably the worst injury luck in football last season on the defensive side of the football, but also were we fully buying Jared Goff as this, top 10 quarterback or top 8? I mean, he's been pretty good the last 2 seasons out there. And granted, that playoff game was a stinker, but that happens. Yeah, one game, anything can happen. So we'll be curious, but I know we do have to wrap up here relatively soon. We probably do need to talk some Buccaneers. Nothing crazy about the depth chart, but excited for this Buccaneers game. And really, I mean, just such a big test for the defense. The thing that scares me, you mentioned with the injuries of the wide receiver and everything, but it's not even, just wide receiver. They got Cade Otton as well, who's been awesome.
They've been saying that Cade's out is what I've been hearing.
Cade is out. Okay.
I haven't been looking, I plan on doing my, let's do a deep dive on Friday. Yeah. So, and again, I've been out of town for 5 days. I don't know the Buccaneers depth chart up and down, but there's been a lot of talk in here about Cade Otton being out as well.
Yeah, he's dealing with a hamstring injury, fresh leg injury, as well on top of the hamstring injury. So maybe he will not be as much of a factor in this one. I mean, if you remember last season after Godwin went down, he really stepped up, and he's a pretty darn good, beyond serviceable pass catching tight end. So I guess really it might be the Egbuka show in this one at the end of the day with the running backs as well. The one thing you will say is Baker he'll hit some of the best throws you've ever seen week to week, but he'll also throw up a few WTF are you doing throws as well. So you got to take advantage. Those opportunities will come. Are they going to be the one where your defensive back shows why they're a defensive back and not a wide receiver? And it bounces off their hands, or are you going to take advantage of the opportunity? So, those moments happen every single game. You got to take advantage.
Andre makes a good point, and then again, this is when you are having success. It's like almost like a plug and play. The system is good, so McCarthy's going to be good. Mm-hmm. You're not quite as sure. There's not quite as much of a track record with the Falcons, obviously, but Andre says, I love how they praise McCarthy and he hasn't played, but Shoot Down Penix says he hasn't played enough. Yeah, it's a little bit of a double standard, so to speak, but we're kind of familiar with that. And a lot of that has to do with what did the Vikings finish last year? 14-3?
Something crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and then that's part of it. And Sam Darnold all of a sudden, looks amazing. Well, do you like McCarthy better than Darnold? Probably. So that's part of it. It's like, well, if we can do this with this guy, well, this guy should be even better. But we'll see. It is still a big unknown. So I'm with you on this. Question coming here, Mr. Big Management on YouTube. He says, good morning, fellas. I'm definitely interested in our defensive unit this year. What do you think about it? I think it will be improved. Again, how much, we'll see. It really has nowhere to go but up from last year. Even if you're giving up more big plays and more points, at least you're getting the ball back to your offense, and you're not seeing your offense sitting on the sideline for 11, 12 minutes at a time while your defense can't get the team off the field as they methodically just drive down the field in little chucks, death by 1,000 cuts, because you're too scared to attack. You're playing, you're on your bicycle going backwards. Your safeties are 15 yards off the ball. Your linebackers are in a ton of space. Your cornerbacks are on 10-yard cushions on everything. And it's just 2nd and 2, 1st and 10, 2nd and 2, 3rd and 1, 1st and 10, just methodically going down. I don't think we're going to see that not every time. There'll still be drives like that, of course, but I expect this to be a much more attacking unit. And I think it will improve in the stats that matter. Again, if I give up more points, but I'm giving up less points per drive, I've improved. Well, if I'm giving up more yardage, but I'm giving up less yards per drive, I have improved. So 3rd down efficiency, points per drive, yards per drive, those are the efficiency metrics. I expect those to improve. I expect them to give up a few more big plays because I think they'll take more risks. Thank God. I want them to take more risks because last year they didn't take risks until the team finally just said they gave up. The team had checked out last month of the season on defense. And that's when the 30 points started coming up on these guys. So more aggressive, more turnovers, more sacks, probably more big plays against. All right. Should be more fun to watch.
Yeah. Explosives are a killer at the end of the day, but it's always that's why football is the perfect game. It's always such a delicate balance. You can't take out your teeth as a defense as well, lose your venom, because these guys do want to hit. They do want to be the aggressors. I think there is a fine balance still that you can hit. I mean, we've kind of seen it with Vic Fangio, where the coverage itself, you have bodies, but they're aggressive in their areas, and they will see winning with 4 with the rushers. I mean, we can talk all day, Scott. The key is, can you get pressure with 4 and cover with 7? If you can do that as a defense, you're going to be pretty good. But Andre comes in. He says linebacker is a big unknown this year outside of Ellis. Yeah, I mean, you got Divine Diablo. I don't know if he's necessarily an unknown, but I think the upside is limited. Last season was unknown without much upside, especially once Troy Anderson kind of was lost to the ages. It seems like that's the direction we're heading right now. But I wouldn't necessarily say Divine Diablo is an unknown. It's just he's not overly exciting. It feels like he's a stopgap kind of guy, which, to be fair to the linebacker position in general across the league, that feels like it's 80% of the linebackers. They're kind of like tight ends right now, Scott. There's a few superstars, but a lot of them are just like, oh, that guy. I guess so. In and out.
Yeah, I'd have to look. They're paying him they gave him a good contract. But again, for me, the improvement is how good is Divine Diablo going to be? I'm not sure, but he's going to be better than Landman and Bertrand were last year. I'll bet a lot of money on that. Again, assuming he's healthy. The sticker might as well say down here, all of this goes out the window depending on health. It's all contingent on these guys staying healthy. Injuries change everything.
Yep.
So Divine Diablo is better than what they were able to put on the field for 13 games last year. I have no doubt about that. And on top of that, they're going to be closer to the line of scrimmage. They're not going to be asked to be in so much space. I don't want to see Divine Diablo chasing a slot receiver across 40 yards on a drag route. I don't want to see Leonard Floyd trying to cover a wheel down the field. And again, all coverages are not created equally, right? So it's not that, Matt Judon was dropped into coverage X amount of times. Well, he did it that many times in Buffalo. Taking 3 steps back and covering a zone is a lot different than chasing a running back on a wheel route 40 yards down the field. And that's what we saw the guys doing way too often. So, Andre, I think the linebacker position has been improved. How much? And this kind of goes into, for me, the key to the season. I think this is going to be a top 10 offense. They were number 6 in total yards last year. They were about 13th in points because they were about 13th in red zone efficiency. If they can be a little bit more efficient in the red zone, that becomes the yards turn into points. On top of that, the kicking game will be better this year. They can turn some of those yards into points and move into a top 10 type of offense. Go from a bottom 3 unit in defense to even just bad. If they're up to 25th in the metrics that count, this is a playoff team. I think they're a playoff team. So that's kind of what I'm expecting. And what I'm really expecting is more enjoyable football. I was so angry watching Jimmy Lake's defense last year because it was so predictably ineffective. You can't play defense like that in the NFL. You cannot. And it was so predictable. And it just made me just mad. Part of it's just jealousy. Like, how much does this guy make in a year to make decisions like this? Give me half of that, and I'll make this defense better. So I have no doubt that Jeff Ulbrich is going to improve this defense.
Yeah, you've invested in the defense too, to the point where, again, I'm still players over coaches at the end of the day. Players are the ones on the field making the play. Great players make great coaches. Coaching does matter, though. But I'm excited to see what they can do and just be a little bit more aggressive. And I just think there's a different energy to the team as well. There's a little bit of weirdness last year with Kirk Cousins coming in and using Penix afterwards, first year with Raheem Morris. This year it feels like there's a little bit more congruency, I think is the word I want to use, direction for everybody and an identity. So we'll see what happens with this team. Obviously, I don't think too many people, from what I've seen, Scott, most people are still picking the Buccaneers to win the division. The Falcons are kind of like I guess we'll see a lot of new pieces, new coaching staff on the defensive side. And what does Penix actually do this season? But because of those unknowns, the air bars are quite wide. So it could, turn into flames and crash and burn, but it also could be exciting. Penix is an MVP caliber quarterback. The defense takes a step forward to top 12 and you're pushing 12 wins. So it could go either way.
ESPN or NFL, I don't remember which, did a best and worst case scenarios. And the biggest spread, it was a tie with like 4 teams. But the biggest spread between floor and ceiling, the Falcons were in it, it was like the ceiling 12-5, and it was like a 6 or 7 game spread with the floor being this. So again, it's a volatile team, where we come down to the pieces are in place. We're a little worried about right tackle, but again, Charlie Warner is going to be in the hip pocket of Eli Wilkinson like we expect, and hopefully that shouldn't affect the running game as much. And you'll have to do some things, going in. It's not like you're losing your right tackle mid-game and all of a sudden, get in there. You can game plan around protecting your right tackle a little bit. You had to anyway with McGarry, so that's not a huge change. But yeah, I'd pick the Buccaneers right now until we see otherwise. You got to change my mind out there, and you don't do that in the offseason unless, something crazy happens like a quarterback retires or that. But week 1 is not going to determine this season. You can go 2-0 against the Buccaneers and still not make the playoffs, right?
Yep.
But it would be nice to get off to a good start and get a win, get this team jacked up and get some momentum, because the early part of the schedule is tough.
Yeah. Hopefully hit the ground running. Volatile team, like we talked about. Brandon Wiggins says, since Brady left, the Bucs have been average in a bad division. Still true today.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
a little bit better than average, but they haven't been contenders.
No,
there hasn't been a contender coming out of the South since Brady left the Buccaneers, which is, we talked about that early. And let's see, 100 realists coming in, just to reiterate that there was some moves this morning. Darnell Mooney did get a contract restructure, which frees up $6 million in salary cap, gives the team some flexibility, and if they don't use it, they can carry that over till next year. So that is anytime you can clear up some space like that is a good time. So even if you don't use it today, you can use it tomorrow. So that's a good, and frankly, it guarantees Mooney next year, because as we've said, wide receiver is a sneaky need for this team. Ray's on the last year of his deal. I don't think he's redone anything yet. He was so cheap. And then Mooney was in the last year of his guaranteed money, which means if he was flexible moving forward, this locks him up for another year. This means, like Matthews, like McGarry, those deals, it locks him up to 2026, no matter what the back end of the contract says.
Yep. Yeah, you're just putting that money in. It's like we always talk about it, Scott. When these contracts are signed, it's a 2-year deal with a 3rd-year option. They exercise the option, create a little bit of immediate cap space, and hopefully Mooney can get healthy and show what he showed last season. Alfred Hughes, we're going to run the same pitiful 2-4-5 we ran last year, because that's what Raheem wants to run. Slight upgrade at a couple positions, but overall don't expect much of an improvement. We'll see, man. I mean, you're definitely, I understand the opinion and perspective of being cynical and prove me wrong in that. That's how I feel right now about my freaking Iowa Hawkeyes quarterback situation. They won a football game with their starting quarterback who they paid good money for, with 44 passing yards against one of the worst FCS teams in football. God bless. Here we go again. So I understand the cynicism, Alfred. I will say, last season the Falcons switched it up to better results. So I'm hoping that it's not a regression to the early Falcons defense last season. You got Ulbrich in here as well, who's definitely got some skins on the wall, and you upgraded the talent. So I'm not expecting a top 5 defense this season by any means, but I'm expecting them to be more aggressive, more exciting players up front, more one-on-one winners in the pass rush situation, and finish somewhere between the let's say 18th to 11th best defense in football.
And Alfred Hughes and fellas, play nice in the chat, please. We don't need this. Play nice in the chat. You guys have both been around a long time. Bucks you don't get to talk back. Just you're in another chat. Bucks raise bolts. Take it, but everybody play nice here. Alfred, I don't know if you know, because everybody's looking at, okay, here's the first depth chart leading into the first game. That's really when I started paying attention. The depth chart has been listed as a 2-4-5 all summer long. So this is their 3rd or 4th iteration of it. The first time they may have had to do it, an unofficial depth chart, was probably before the first preseason game. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This is probably the 4th iteration of this. And it's been listed as a 2-4-5 the whole time. And that isn't what they're coming out on 1st and 10. We've seen them come out in a 3-3 which is what Ryan Nielsen ran, with 3 down linemen and a stand-up edge. We've seen them come out in a 3-4 with the 2 stand-up outside linebackers, edge rushers. So the 2-4-5 is going to be involved in passing situations, not on 3rd and 1, not on 2nd and 1, not on 1st and 10 most of the time. I saw it happen one time, Alfred, and it was in the 2nd preseason game. They came out in the first series in the 2-4-5, and who they play in the second one? Was it the Titans? Right down the field until a turnover happened, and then it was gone. I'm like, thank you. Scrap that MF and GD expletive defense as a base unit. It's the only time I saw it was the 2-4-5 nickel. And Troy, it's not a ha-ha. That's what it is. When you got 2 defensive linemen and they call their edge rushers outside linebackers on this team, they are listed as OLB on this team. That's 2 interior linemen, 2 outside linebackers, 2 inside linebackers, 5 defensive backs. That's a 2-4-5. 2-4-5. And even when they're out there, I noticed, even when they did run that, the back, how many is it now? 7. was all like 5 yards closer to the line of scrimmage. So they were still all closer in that regards. Even when they did go light, super light out there, they definitely still pushed forward and were more aggressive. It's not that's a defense for like the Big Sky or something. I don't know what they're trying to do out there, against the fun and gun oop-de-oop type of offenses you see in some colleges that don't have enough players, but guys who can run 4-5 and catch a football are easy to find, so they run 5 wide receivers. Doesn't work in the NFL. Wasn't ever going to work in the NFL. Didn't work in the NFL. No. And Jimmy Lake lasted longer than he should have.
You could see that work maybe if you had the number 3 offense in football, and even then it has a point. But if
I've got 4 dominating front 4, but even then, Nick, last year they would run that defense, and the 4 guys up front would play like they were 2-gapping. I mean, they just hold up on their line and just stand up and stand there. Again, I want to move forward. Yeah. Here's a good question. Let me see here. Who leads the team in sacks? Someone just asked that. Jay. Good to see you, Jay. Who leads the team in sacks? That is an excellent question. I'm going to say Leonard Floyd.
I'll go with James Pierce Jr. I think he's going to be the opportunity to just pin his ears back and take advantage of those ones. I think he's the most talented of the true pass rushers up front. He might not have the most opportunity as far as snaps, but I think he's going to have the most quality opportunities, right? It's kind of like, I'm trying to think of a synonym for it, but I think he's going to have the most quality opportunities out there. So I'll go James Pierce Jr.
And what's nice is there's options, because I was on vacation, people are talking sports this time of year. What do you think? I was like, well, they've got a lot of questions, but as we said before, they have multiple answers. They didn't just put all their eggs in Jalen Walker. They went out and got Leonard Floyd, and they got James Pierce Jr. too. So one of those guys should come good, right? They didn't just go with one safety. They signed a couple. They got Xavier Watts and someone familiar with the system, and Jordan Fuller. They went with a couple of options. They brought in 3 people to compete at nickel. Okay, that's good. Can they solve everything? Not yet. They still need another corner and offensive tackle. Going to need another wide receiver here soon. But they have answers out there, so we will see. On that note, I think I missed this one, Matt. I apologize. Thank you for the super chat, Matt. He says, hey, guys, will you consider our season a loss if we don't win the division? I believe we will win. Go Falcons. Love the show. No, I wouldn't. Absolutely not. And I talked about this. If it was a stronger NFC South, if the Buccaneers turn into a Super Bowl contender and go 13-4, and the Falcons come in at 11-6 and take a wild card spot, take care of yourself. Mm-hmm. If they go 11-6, I don't care if they win the division or not. It doesn't matter to me. 11-6 is a good season. Yeah. That is something to build on, and that will get a lot of people excited in free agency about coming to play with Michael Penix. I promise you.
I will say if they go in 11-6 and not win the division, I'll be disappointed because
no. And Nick, just froze up a little bit there, Nick. I'd take an 11. There's so few. You haven't had a winning season in how long? 2017.
Yeah.
I'd take 11-6, and I don't care if you win the division or not. I care. I'd rather win than not win. But if you offered me 11-6 right now, I'd snatch your hand off. I'd take it. I'll take it. And the Buccaneers would be really happy if they went 12-5. But I take 11-6 right now, division or no division. 11-6 will probably win this division, but 11-6, I'd take it right now, Matt. Absolutely.
Yeah. 11-6 probably wins if you have tiebreakers at the end of the day. But Scott, I do need to fly, so I plan on seeing you again next week. But you guys have a good one. Hopefully it's a dub in the chat for everybody, and appreciate everyone coming in and joining us this morning. And glad you had a good time. Happy anniversary again, Scott.
Thanks, Nick. I will not see y'all tonight on Broncos. I'm going out to dinner with my wife. So he's out of here. All right, we're going to say goodbye to some folks here as we finish up some of the chat stuff. And Brandon says, they're going to attack worst replacement. They're going to attack everywhere. That's one of the things that I like about this defense. It's not just the edge rushers. The defensive linemen, instead of, again, bumping chests with the guy in front of them and trying to hold them up And then you're not even rushing with your linebackers. I really don't know what they were trying to accomplish last year. Containment? I don't know. They're actually trying to split gaps. So the guys up front, the interior defensive linemen are splitting gaps also. It's attack. So they're attacking the line of scrimmage, period. And Sip Thoughts, he says, I think Floyd and James Pierce Jr. tie for the most sacks. For me, what would the total number be this year? I think 45 plus would be good. What did we look at last year when I said at 45 NFL stats? I think 45 would have put you like around. The Broncos had a silly amount, team record. They won by a lot. Let me see, sacks. But 45 puts you in a group with a bunch of different teams. Yeah, 45 sacks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 would be tied for 8th. And there's a big jump, even 40 sacks is middle of the pack, and then you go all the way down to 31 sacks and 28. And you had to go on a historic run to get to even 31 after you had only 11 sacks after 10 games. So they want sack crazy. The end. So I don't expect anybody to be 12 sacks, but I could see 3-4 guys with 6+. And then you start chipping in from Bowman. You start chipping in from Dorless. Rook gets 3 or 4. Onyemata gets 3 or 4. And that start adding up, and you start hitting that 45 to 50 range. It's going to be a different defense. So I absolutely expect this team to attack. And Michael Lewitzki, as he says, Freddie Falcon's going to lead the team in sacks. He's nasty. You seen him go out there with those kids games, going out there and stiff arming kids to the ground. He's ruthless. Freddie Falcon is ruthless. He's probably got the biggest cojones out there with the way he jumps off the top of that dome too. So, and Troy says, we got all the D linemen for a 2.45. Get out of here. Well, Troy, they kept 9 defensive linemen last year and ran a 2.45. So you never know, but I think we've got a little bit more competency in the room. And it seems like there's more communication, so to speak, with the coaching staff and personnel on who to keep and who not to. Mactown Dirty, thank you. Certainly appreciate it. 25 means I'm old. I'm old means I've, spent half my life with one person. And it feels that way. 51 sacks, 3 a game from Michael Lewitzki. 51 last year would have been 4th. So last year, the Broncos had 63 sacks. The Ravens were 2nd at 54. Dallas Cowboys and Micah Parsons were at 52. The Houston Texans were at 49. The Vikings and their attack defense was 49th. And the Chargers, 49th. They had 49. The Chargers had 46. The Buccaneers had 46. The Packers had 45. And the Giants were actually leading the league in sacks for a long time and then fell off. I think they had some injuries in there. They finished with 45, and the Seahawks had 45. That'd be a good group to be in for sure. Let me see. Bucks Race Bolt said, is somebody getting double team Mike Evans? You want to roll some safety help over there for sure. But, we've got 2 pretty good safeties out there to keep an eye on the outside receivers. You want to try and free him up. But I think you're not going to see as much space against the Falcons defense in the middle of the field in the box, between the hashes or between the hash marks out to 10 yards. There was 1 or 2 guys in that whole area last year, and it was either Ellis or J.D. Bertrand or Nate Landman. That's not going to happen this year. There's not going to be nearly as much space to operate. So we'll see. There's going to be some communication errors. There's going to be some early growing pains on this defense. There's a lot. I mean, look, as we go through this, I'm going to go through who they list. And I'll go through who I think it's going to be, but also who they list here. Edge, Leonard Floyd, new face. DL, Brandon Dorless, new starter. Ruka Rojo, new starter. Arnold Ebiketie, listed number 1, new starter. Caden returning. Divine Diablo, new starter. AJ returning. Jesse's returning. Xavier Watts, new starter. Cornerback Mike Hughes returning. And then nickel Billy Bowman, new starter. So how many is that? 7? 7 new starters on this defense out of a rotation of 12 or so. There's going to be some some growing pains out there for sure, but we expect that. But again, I want these mistakes to be made with aggression, not with fear. I don't want to see backpedaling out there. I don't want to see timid. If you're going to get beat, it's because, you were aggressive. All right, that happens. I was too aggressive. Those are the mistakes I don't necessarily mind. I was too aggressive on that one. I shouldn't have gone underneath. I should have gone over the top and been a little less risky. It's going to happen. There's going to be some coverages in there. There's a bunch of new starters, but it's a 17-game season. Again, the Falcons didn't miss the playoffs because of how the Pittsburgh game went last year. And this game will not determine 2020. What year are we in? 2025? But it'd be nice to get off to a good start at home, without a doubt. I think we're just about done here. Maggie, good to see you. Thank you for being here. And Psalm says, will I be here? Will I be there on Sunday? No, I don't typically go to the games. I work during the games, and I can't really dedicate an entire day to one team for me. So I'll have the game on while I'm working. I'll watch it, and then we'll be here Monday morning for everything. But I'm not going to be there. But I've got one of my writers is going to be there, and we'll be covering it for sure on FalconsSI.com. Definitely. Dan Man says, go ahead and let's let Egbuka catch a pass over the middle with DeMarco there. Let's see what happens. So we will see on that. And Lewitzki's been around here for a while. I've been a Falcons fan for a long time. Yeah, there's I commend Falcons fans for sure. It's definitely not a fair weather bunch on that one. But I'm going to get out of here. Special thank you to Matt for coming in with the super chat. Welcome back, everybody. It's good to be back here with you. I will be back. I'm planning on doing a show on Friday, so make sure you've got the your notifications turned on. We'll preview, see what happens between now and then. If there's something to talk about, there probably will be. We'll stop in and at least say hey on Friday, and then Garrett will be back tomorrow night. So he'll do his show at 6:00 on Thursday. So we do 4 shows a week now on that one, and that's all I got for y'all. Y'all have a great rest of your day. It is gorgeous out there. The weather is absolutely perfect, and, maybe it's just going to stay cool. Maybe it's just going to be a mild end of the summer because it is a gorgeous day, gorgeous weekend in Atlanta for some football. I hope you enjoyed your college football weekend. I know I did. Y'all have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next time.